Ah, ah. Wah! I come from the land of the ice and snow, where the midnight sun and the harsh winds blow. Hammer all the gods. Drive our ships to new lands. Look at this. It's snowing out here. Isn't that beautiful? I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to do. I got too many things going on. I do know what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to fill my lungs with tar, because there's some study that came from my sister's father-in-law. Guy I knew from the time before my sister married his son. He was my 8th grade gym teacher. Really cool guy. So much so that whenever I was rolling through Gaylord, I always made it a point to go see him. And I'd drink beers with him on the front porch. Out in front of the garage, not the porch. I'd have a couple. And he would tell me awful stories, which I didn't realize until just not too long ago, that were meant to scare me. He'd tell stories about people that were getting killed on motorcycles left and right. And I'm like drinking beers with him and getting on my motorcycle and driving off. But I think maybe that's his way of giving me a lecture. Didn't make the connection. And, well, he sent along a thing that talks about how this virus isn't attacking people that are smokers, because it's liking healthy lung tissue. It's as I say, the body's a temple. What self-respecting germ would ever bring themselves to the level of living in a slum like this? And so there's this thing saying, you smoke? You're probably not gonna get it. I don't know if that's true. Could be one of those fake news things. I'm not really too interested. I just like the idea that people are coming around to my way of thinking. It took the bubonic plague to do it. That's the funny thing. I'm inoculated against the plague. They gave us that in the desert. I was like, what the hell are you giving us an inoculation for the bubonic plague for? Didn't that die years ago? And I realized, maybe they're getting ready to dump it on the enemy. That's good thinking. And, so there, whatever. But then, today, see some article that was sent to me by a loving and wonderful person about how alcohol, which I've been saying, it's just like ticks in Mississippi. When we went to visit my uncle and aunt in Mississippi when I was in 2nd grade, and they were pulling these ticks off the dog, just disgusting, bloated, popping blood everywhere. And I'm in there sleeping on the floor, have to scream to my mother because there's a tick on my scrotum when I'm in the bathtub. I'm like, and she's like, And the first one they found on me was under the armpit. You know, I was standing there the day before. I was deathly afraid of spiders, and I've had at least 3 now. 3 tarantulas and whatever. I don't have one right now. But I was deathly afraid of spiders, and I was out in the yard in Mississippi, and I didn't know that spider babies ballooned, but there was a flying spider coming by me, and I was like, ah! It was coming at me. I know it was. And I was, ah! And I went in screaming, there's a flying spider. And everybody said, there's no such thing as flying spiders. It's called ballooning. The spiderlets, they do that to spread away, get away from their brother, because their brother's going to eat them. And they said, no such thing. And they, So the next morning I woke up on that floor, and I came in. I didn't have a shirt on. I don't really dig shirts. They're so binding, like a contract, you know. And I leaned up in the kitchen window like this without my shirt. And I said, and I was probably 6 years old. And I said, I've decided I'm not going to be afraid of spiders anymore after sleeping on it. And I looked at my armpit and what looked like a spider, which is a fair mistake, because a tick is an arachnid, as is a spider. I saw that thing in my armpit, and my aunt came at it with a cigarette that she was smoking in the kitchen. That's a different aunt. All my aunts smoked in the kitchen. Huh. And I said, no, and so they pulled it. And then the next morning, there's the one on my scrotum, and the protector of my jewels. You've got something trying to get inside. Try to steal your children. And while we were down there, my uncle was talking about how he kept from getting ticks because both he and my father were just getting loaded constantly while we were down there. They were match made in heaven. And in heaven, nobody dies. And he said the way he kept the ticks off him was he drank a lot of beer. And so the alcohol comes out of your pores, and the ticks don't like that. It's a deterrent for some reason. One more reason to think less of ticks. But the thing is, this article today says that if you drink alcohol, you're less likely to get it because, and I've been saying this, I started saying this last week. I said, wow. Last week, it was longer ago than that, I know it. I just don't know what day it is because I'm very busy getting things done. But the idea that I got all this beer in me, they're not going to want to, the virus, it's not going to want to connect to me. And that's what the article today said. And it said, the more alcohol in your system, the better. Whiskey is the best. And this came from a German physician who had some kind of relation to the World Health Organization. Who are we? Who? Cuckoo. I am the Eggman. I am the walrus. I brought eggs home today. He says, drink your whiskey, man. And it's just like I've been telling people for years. I got it all worked out. But the more and more this stuff goes on, the more scientific evidence. It's like this virus was manifest to prove me right. Nobody believed a thing about that. Okay, so yeah, what I was going to talk about, it's Passover. It's Passover. Isn't that great? This is the day. That's why they were at the Last Supper. And that's why, here's Judas, a zealot. Jesus kept telling him he was coming back, and Judas, being a Pharisee, believed in reincarnation. He believed the whole thing that he was saying. He was supposed to come off the cross and just go, rah! Lightning coming out of his eyes and fire burning his throat as it just made an inferno out of the witnesses. Didn't do that, but that's the idea. And so he said, yeah, Passover, we'll have a party, and it's going to be even better when you come off that cross tomorrow, and I'll be waiting for you in the bar. And so he went in and he turned him in like he was supposed to. He was his friend. And they were in on this together. And these damn people up there, the Sadducees that were running the show, they said, to make it official, we have to give you money. And so they gave him 100 silver pieces. And he said, I don't need this money. He came from money. He came from learning. He'd been laid and left the chick. Not like he was married by the water for a while. He's saying, get me the hell out of here like all the others. And he didn't need the money. But he said, okay, make it official. Because he really wanted to see this go down. And he went out. He put $30 under the rake in the tool shed. He put another 40 in his going out shoes, and he put the other 30 in his pocket, and he went out and got loaded that night. Passover, after they took him, he's like, well, time to get good and drunk. There's going to be work to do. Might as well get this out of my system. So he goes out and gets loaded. He spends 30 pesos on everybody he knows. It doesn't matter. And well, the next day, he was still in the bar. And he waited for the Magdalene to show up, the whore. That was the $40 he had setting aside. He had another 20 for her and another 20 to drink off his hangover and wait for Jesus the next day. And he spent that $30. And that was Passover night. So we'll talk about Good Friday tomorrow. Oh my gosh. I'll talk to you later. Oh, wait. You know what? I really probably ought to go walking in the yard. The interesting thing about the Passover was that was the second huge Passover. It was the life and death of Christ. It was, first Passover was there. They put up the blood on the things. I don't know. It was like, what do you call it? It was another version of Passover on Christmas Eve. I'm amazed that the Catholics don't celebrate Passover Part 2, because it was at the time. That's why they went off running, was because Herod was sending people out to kill them all the newborn babies, all the firstborn, all that stuff. They couldn't get a room in the inn, so they went out there and he was in the manger and everything. They didn't even know where to look for him. But that was another Passover that he was gone through. It's interesting too, because once I went to church with a friend of mine who is from a very Catholic family, and we were walking out of the parking lot and joking, and he said, what if in the manger, see, a manger is a trough. It's a trough for animals. It's not a crib. It's a crib for him. The same way we had to poop in a 5-gallon bucket in a shed at my grandpa's house. You know, you can call that a crib all you want, but it's still just for feeding animals. And, well, he said, what would have happened if a goat had come into the manger and like chewed off one of his arms, and we were joking, saying how they would have only needed a beam for the cross, and it would have been like, everybody would be walking around like that, like Heil Hitler and stuff. But, and then just before we got to our car, there was one of these big old station wagons like they used to drive, and on the front with the Jesus thing like that, it was missing an arm, so it only had one. And he took that pretty seriously, and I found it pretty funny. I said, what are the odds? You know, what self-respecting prick would leave a Jesus with a broken arm off it planted to your dashboard? I don't know. Happy Passover. It's time. Seder, 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 Satan, Seder, Satan, Seder, Satan, Seder, Seder, Seder.